if you have something special and there's that little niggle, that little seed inside you that's thinking, well, I wonder if I could sell this, then just do it. It's really hard to know whether it's the right thing for you until you give it a go. But being able to earn money on your terms with a creative hobby that gives you joy, I think there is something absolutely beautiful in that. Wow. So that is the end of season 1 of the Motivated Creative podcast. And wow, what an amazing journey. If you are new here, I'm Nikki Matz, and I am the host of the Motivated Creative podcast that is brought here by the Artisan Business Company. It has been such a crazy ride, and I am so grateful to the amazing guests that we have had during season 1. It has been so heartfelt, so warm, so honest for them to come on and tell us about their journey, what they have done, they have achieved, what they've discovered, and how they've overcome all of their problems, challenges, everything to make their handmade businesses the most amazing they could be. The reason we started the Motivated Creative podcast is to really give a platform for handmakers and crafters to listen to people, to connect with people, to understand what it is to run a handmade business and the community that supports all of that. And it has been absolutely amazing. This episode, what I'm going to do is give you sort of my best bits, my bits that have been just amazing, the tips, the guides, the conversations that we've had, so that you can really get an understanding of what this season has done and the amazing start that we have built in this journey. The Motivated Creative podcast will be staying, and we will be going into season 2 in a couple of weeks. So please stay tuned for that to get more tips, more guides, more help, and more real life stories from people that are out there building their own businesses from the ground up. It isn't easy to run a handmade business. It isn't easy to run any business, but to know that there is a community of people out there that have also had these challenges, also had these struggles, that have managed to overcome these struggles and that are moving forward, and understanding that you can also do that. You can also overcome these challenges and move forward in your business and develop a beautiful handmade business, I think is a brilliant thing. And I am so proud of us all for getting here and doing this amazing podcast. So in this episode, you will see the best bits. You will see, some of the advice, some of the help, some of the guides, from mental health to tips around business to things that you can do to really build yourself and your business as you go through this journey. So have a look at all of these clips, see what you think, and join us again for season 2.
Michelle Griffith Robinson, she was talking to us all about sort of her journey and inspiration. And she said one of the things that she wanted to teach us was something called SPR, which is called stop, pause, reflect. So you basically, every time you're having moments where you've got full of self-doubt, because we all have them, you stop. You just stop thinking like that. Negative thoughts is fine, but actually let's just stop those 1 second and look back at how far you've come. Just pause the imposter syndrome, pause all the bad comments that you're giving yourself, because we are our own worst critics. I wouldn't talk to my friends the way I talk to myself. Well, no, maybe some of them, but we're awful to ourselves. We say such horrible things, like you look in the mirror and you go, God, you're fat. And you wouldn't say that to your best friend. You just wouldn't. So you do that. You stop, pause and reflect. And you basically look back at what you were doing a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 years ago, and look at how far you've come and look at what you've achieved. Because I'm guilty of doing that so infrequently. And it isn't until, like I said to you, until you point out, your confidence has come on so much. You've done this, you've done that. I'm like, yeah, actually, yeah. And sometimes you do need other people to point that out to you, but there's nothing to stop yourself having that SPR moment and just going, okay, hang on. So what was I doing a year ago? And like, I look at some of my jewelry and I think I couldn't have made that a year ago, or I was making it a year ago and it wasn't as good as it is now. I see how my skills have developed just from this diploma alone. And I know that is only going to get better. It's one of those where you just have to have a moment and have a word with yourself, and a calm, nice word with yourself, not a stop being such an idiot kind of word with yourself, but just wait a minute. If I was my best friend, what would my best friend say right now? She'd say, no, look at all of this stuff you've achieved, and be very proud of yourself because you've achieved it.
One of the hardest things I've learned in my journey is to be kind to myself. And there are those days, there's still those days where I'm like, oh my God, why can I not do this? Why am I not doing this as well as everyone else? You know, why am I? And there are still those days, but now I work through them and go, stop, you know, give myself time for clarity and go, no, like think about where you were to where you are now. And those quarterly meetings, I call them now my CEO meetings, and I teach people about them as well. And I love them because they're my day. I grab my laptop and I go up to Starbucks, and I'm a bit of a Starbucks girly. I do like my Starbucks.
Ooh, do my next one in Starbucks. That's a good idea.
Oh, I love it because it takes me out of the home, because I work from home. I'm in the same four walls all the time. So I take myself away and I have a meeting with myself and I go through my stats. I used to do it weekly, and I've had to move it to monthly because I started obsessing over them. So I got to a point where I was like, no, monthly. And I'll just go through my stats. I'll check my, goals for the year. I'll check what my projects are for the year, what I'm like aiming to do, check that I'm on track for that, anything that needs extra. And they made such a difference in my business because you are, on your own. And as a solopreneur, it's quite lonely and you can get lost. Like you said, wood for the trees scenario, you can get lost in the work. You can see all these trees, but you never see the light shining through because you're too busy looking at all the trees. And you get to that point where you're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? And you have to just remind yourself. And I find those meetings, I call them my little CEO meetings. And I get myself a Starbucks, and I actually treat myself to a Starbucks cake as well. Because
little CEO moment.
Yeah, 100%. I am going to celebrate the fact that I'm doing admin and I'm not crying. So we're going to have a cake with this. 100%. But it just shows as well, the absolute resilience in the fact that how many times have you wanted to quit and you haven't? You've powered through. And yes, it's, having support is that extra bonus. But even without that support, there's that feisty bit inside of us all that would go, no, I can do this. And it's about tapping into that person and going, you're in there because I wouldn't have started if I didn't think I could do it. So it's tapping into that.
Stay away from the naysayers. Stay away from negativity because those people, they have money mindset issues of their own, okay? And you don't need them bringing theirs to you.
I completely agree with that. I mean, I did the work and went back into my past, and I know the reason why I had such bad sort of energy around money. My thing was, in my childhood, my mum used money as a reward instead of love.
Yes,
so
that's a big one.
Instead of being kind and helpful and loving towards me, she'd buy me a new bike, or she'd buy me some new clothes, or would go out shopping, so it was always a replacement for love. So that was really difficult as I got older to not do that to my children. Yeah. Because in the first instance, that's what I was doing. It was like, oh, I've got a day off. Let's go to the shop,
Yeah.
And it was always that replacement. And then what tended to happen is in my business, when I was in my early 20s and I was in business, I would buy things for my business that I loved, regardless to whether they were useful for my business or not. And it is a surprise. It's so surprising when you go back into it to see how much of your personal beliefs directly link to the way that you behave in business. Now I sort of put my hands up and say, yeah, I'm really crap with this, and I get somebody else to do it for me. But I also get them to explain it to me and explain to me why and why it's so important. I'm still in the process, and I probably will always be in the process of learning why things are important, what investments are important in business and personal, how you can tell the difference between an investment and a money pit, and all this sort of stuff. I still find it really interesting. I'll be a perpetual student until the day I die.
And we all will.
When you do go back and you do look at where it came from, it can be painful because it's admitting things to your inner child, to your inner chimp.
Yes.
It's admitting things that you maybe don't want to admit, you don't want to say out loud, you don't want to have, but actually the change it can make in your business and in your life is so worth it.
Yeah. What you said about you found yourself making the same mistakes with your children as your mum did with you. I get that because I'm guilty of that. That's another reason why it's so important that we address our money mindset, because if we're aware of it, we can stop doing what we've traditionally done, and then we won't hand it on to the next generation. And that is so important. That's something that I'm passionate about. I don't believe that there's enough education around money for children. I believe it needs to be taught more in schools, and us as parents, we need to address it so that we can play our part in developing our children's positive money mindset.
You mentioned my graphic novel earlier because that's about mental health. The beginning of this year was terrible for me. I just lost it. My depression, because I have bipolar, my depression was just really bad. And so I lost almost the first 3 months of this year. We talked about how the balancing act between creativity and mental health. Coming out of the other side of that is what actually prompted me to write my novel. And that turns out that the novel is the best thing to write about was my mental health. So that's what I've done. Yeah.
And that's really brave of you, because a lot of people, we do try and hide it. We try and make it look like on the forefront of things that we're doing okay. So when we have down days, I mean, I've struggled. It turns out I'm neurodiverse, and it's taken this long for me to figure that out. But for years, I've been diagnosed with anxiety, I've been diagnosed with depression, I've had stress, all these things. But actually, trying to balance that without everyone knowing, it's always been like a stigma. I didn't want anyone to know that I was almost, I felt weak. I think that was the thing. I felt weak, and I didn't want to see people to see that.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. The way things have changed for me this year, I've had a lot more, they're labels, but they're good labels. I mean, I think you neurodiverse, you'll get it. If you have a definition for something, it really helps. Because I have quite severe Asperger's. It affects me socially and stuff like that. But this year, after I'd come out of the other side of this depression and I was starting to get more diagnosis and assistance, it's actually really helped me. And it's helped me understand my disabilities in a way. Yeah. It's allowed me to function a lot better.
Yeah. It is the knowing, and it's the talking. We sort of met through lockdown through a mutual friend, and since then we don't talk all the time, but when we do talk, it's a really honest conversation, and actually makes me feel better that I'm not alone. Sometimes I have down days, other people have down days, and it's not a bad thing. But having those conversations, I found so helpful, especially with you, because you understand it. But having those conversations, would you recommend people talking more about mental health and creativity?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been involved in quite a few projects which have linked the two, creativity and mental health. It's quite common, it's the almost the idea of the tortured artist, and it's almost as if you have to be mad in inverted commas to be creative. It just kind of seems to go hand in hand, and
Yeah.
what I've been learning over the last 4 to 5 years, because I've learned a lot about myself, is that I've learned that creativity is what keeps me sane. My wife has a saying that she knows if I'm not well because I'm not drawing. So if I'm not creating, then I'm clearly not well. Either my bipolar's coming back in the form of like really bad depression, or my Asperger's brain has just taken over and I'm running off trying to do everything else, and creativity just goes out the window. Yeah, absolutely.
I always find that along the way, it's always been the creativity that's brought me back to where I need to be. And I was talking to Alex, my husband, the other day. We were watching this crazy show. It was actually a prison show, funny enough. It was inside Australian prisons, because why not? And were watching this show and they use creativity in therapy, in that development therapy for people. And I feel like there's something really, like, we don't talk about it enough, about how the creativity in our life is actually a form of therapy, and that's why we sort of always go back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, comics and cartoons has been there my whole life. I can remember when I was tiny, my Saturday treat I'd get a comic on a Saturday. It's a constant that's always been there, and it's always been. I call it my happy place now. I used to assign happy place to different things, like going outside and like messing around with skateboards or bikes or whatever. But I've actually realised, especially over the last 5 years, that my happy place is actually when I'm being creative. So when I'm writing stories, creating artwork for my clients and customers, it's a creativity that's actually my real anchor that really keeps me level-headed, and yeah, it cheers me up. It really does.
You have to grieve your old life. Now going into a new chapter, and you're looking at it very, very, very different perspective. Just saying, so you can't hang on. You can't drag the past. You have to let go. At some point, you have to let go and form a new chapter. I did that when I was medically retired from work. I had to let go of the fact that I couldn't work no more in that corporate environment kind of thing. I had to let go of that and to a new chapter. And that for me was a grieving process, because that's what I'd always known. I come from a very British background like you, pull up your socks, say, get on with it. My mum used to tell me how me as a child, just say, no one owes you anything in this world, just say, no one's going to give you anything in this world. I wasn't allowed to claim benefits, even though I was entitled to benefits, I wasn't allowed to claim benefits from my parents because they just didn't do that. I mean, they were an immigrant family from the UK, but they never did that. I mean, they never claimed benefits. Everything was worked, and you know what I mean. Their mum would, my mum had about 2 or 3 jobs. My dad having 2 or 3 jobs. So they never claimed me off the state. So I wasn't allowed to claim benefits because it was for them, it's like embarrassment and shame.
Yeah, it's a big taboo. Absolutely, it's a big taboo.
My mum would not allow it. If you did say to her you were going to get claim, you had to get out of her house. She was not going to have anything. It was really embarrassing. So yes, that's what I came with. But then I realised I had to let go. I had to do my work myself to let go of what it is. And I think a lot of people who are finding out late diagnoses of maybe neurodiversity or who become disabled, you have to let go. And once you do that, it's kind of a self-healing, and then you can go on to learn how to do things differently. Things start making a bit more sense.
I understand that 100%, because it is a grieving process. And I don't think the medical world understand how hard the information hits people and how hard it can affect people. I will always class myself as blessed because I don't have a physical disability. Mine is a learning disability, but I still feel, blessed in the fact that I can do things, but I still like to try and help people.
Don't wait until something's completely perfect, because it never will be. Just evolve it. And I don't mean in the logo sense, but I mean in terms of what feels right for you, because your market is always changing. Your products are always changing. And so this kind of contradicts what we were talking about earlier, but it's kind of don't berate yourself for doing something wrong. Putting a post out that doesn't land. Okay, don't worry about it, but understand why it didn't land and do something different next time, So that kind of customer feedback and testing the waters, you will know this, Nikki, with marketing. Like, you'll do something and it won't work, not because it's wrong or because it's bad, but it just didn't land for whatever reason. Okay, well, we try something new, and then you try something new, and then you work out what is the best way to represent yourself, and keep doing those things. And it's okay to make mistakes. You will make mistakes. It's okay. Don't chastise yourself. It's all part of the learning curve, As you can see, a lot of what it takes to run a business isn't just about the things that it's not all just about the skills that you have in business. A lot of it can be around mental health. And as creatives, a lot of us struggle with our mental health. There's been so many people that I've spoken to over the years that when they're feeling down, they go to creativity to make them feel better. Your creativity becomes your business. It can be really hard to strike that balance. And talking down to yourself when you're alone as a solopreneur, someone that's running every aspect of their business themselves, it can be really hard to talk to yourself in a really nice way. So being positive about what you've achieved, where you have come from, the things that you have done so far is so important, and reminding yourself not to beat yourself up, but to really support yourself in the journey that you're having. I advocate talking nice to yourself. And sometimes I struggle with it myself, but I advocate talking nice to yourself because it really makes the difference, especially when you are creative, especially when your creativity directly links to the mental state that you're in at that time. It's so hard to be creative and bring joy and light and love into your products and into your items when that's not quite how you're feeling. So if you need any help and support, if you just want a community to join, come and join us, come and chat to us. We're all here living this reality, and we are all here quite happily to talk to you on those down days so that you know you're not alone, because we've all had down days, myself included. We've all had down days, and we are working every single day to move positively into our business. Now, the next few clips are just us taking a little bit of fun out of ourselves, but with every single podcast out there, with every single YouTube channel that you see, there's always some bloopers. And this bit is a massive shout out to my editor, Dan, who has been fantastic through this entire process and helping us bring you the best of all the interviews and all of the videos that we've done. But Dan informed me quite early on in his recording journey that he had a few bloopers that he could bring out. So yeah, let's have a moment just to laugh and to giggle at what could possibly be my most embarrassing moments. I was quite embarrassed watching these back. I did actually go bright red. My kids had a right laugh, and I think it's all because of the music. Shout out to Dan putting that music to these bloopers. Check them out.
How you feel like my confidence has grown. I have to have people tell me stuff like that because I don't realize. I genuinely, oh,
Sorry.
that's your dog, isn't it? Not mine.
That's my dog. Let me just close the door. And we'll start this section again.
Yes, it's fine.
No, you lost the right to get in the living room. Go away. Let's try that again.
Okay.
So yeah. So we were saying, your confidence now is, amazing. You've just grown in confidence. And you said, we'll start back from you saying, 1 second, sorry. No, I've kicked him out. Go, out. Oh, you little shit. Right. Get in your bed.
Brilliant. If these aren't outtakes, I don't want to watch this.
Oh my God, honestly. Dan actually said to me, he was like, I've got you a blooper reel. I was like, there's enough for a full blooper reel? Like,
There will be.
just from this episode.
Just from that alone. It's okay. Where were we? What were we talking about?
I was having a conversation once with someone who hates Apple products and was literally sat there with me and going, can't stand them, don't know why you buy them, blah, blah, blah. And I just looked at them and said, well, you're not their target market.
Should we wake them
And,
up?
oh,
Well, they did set an alarm. I hate
Alexa, stop.
and yet.
Alexa, stop. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank God we've got an editor. My son set alarms for their lessons, so I'll just make sure he edits that bit out, because otherwise we're going to have the members of Top Gear on our pod, which would be fantastic.
Right, now we've all had a laugh at my expense and my guest expense. Don't worry, they all know that the bloopers are coming. But now we've all had a laugh at our expense. Let's have a look at some of the best tips from this season. These are the bits that are going to move you forward in your business. And these haven't come from people just starting out. These have come from people that are going through this journey, that have been on this journey for years. And myself, I've been a handmaker. I've run handmade businesses now for over 15 years. And I have had ups and downs. I have had trouble and turmoil and everything else. And it isn't always easy. And it is sometimes hard to know what to do next. So take these tips, take this advice, learn from our mistakes, learn from the knowledge and the abilities that our guests have had, because not all of our guests have been handmakers. Some of them have been specialists in their arena. So have a look at these tips, see what you think, and take on board which ones you need at this moment, but log the rest for a later date, because you'll never know when the situation may call, but just a little bit of help and guidance in your next stage.
We all want our business to be profitable. We don't want an expensive hobby. I mean, don't get me wrong, if your hobby is crafting, then that's great. But when it's an expensive hobby that is actually eating into your profits or obliterating your profits, no, we don't want that. So from the start, you need to cost everything. The cost of materials, the cost of your time, which a lot of people struggle with because they think, well, how do I cost my time? And the same as their value, the value that you are bringing. And you've got to concentrate on the solution that you're bringing to people and the value of that. And yet it's a huge, huge struggle.
The reason why we stand for our handmade businesses, the reason why we're doing something different is to stand out from the crowd, is to give a product that is full of care and love and creativity. And being able to add quality to that list of things that this product is makes all the difference. And it builds up a customer base that will be loyal, that will come back to you. I've said it a million times, I'll probably say it a million more, but that loyal customer base will be built up. They'll come back to you time and time again. And that is so important. You want those customers to come back to you. You want them to recommend you to their friends and family. You want them to care because you care. You want them to understand that this product isn't the cheapest in the world. And it's not going to be ever the cheapest in the world. And the reason why is because you're offering something that the mass markets can't. You're offering a high quality product. You're offering a one-on-one service with that product as it's being made. You're offering something special, something unique, something cared about, something that's been created from the ground up. You've sourced the materials. You've checked that it's sustainable. You've looked at absolutely everything. You've sat there and night after night checked that it complies with all the laws and everything else. You've given your heart and soul to that product, and they will feel that if you are putting out a high quality product. I know that, again, I always say this, I know it's a lot in such a short time, but if you want any help with making your product high quality, have a chat to me, drop me a line, put your name in the comments, whatever it is, whatever it takes, send me an email to hello@theartisanbusinesscompany.com. I will help you through. Come and join the community and see how others are making high quality products every single day. It isn't easy. And sometimes you do need that team around you to be able to do it. But that's exactly why the Motivated Creative Podcast is here, is to help you build that community and have people that you can throw ideas at and they can tell you what they think, and a safe place for you to build that quality product that's going to bring people back again and again. Quality isn't about making something that just looks nice. It's about creating a full experience for your customers that makes them want to come back to you, that makes them want to fall in love with what you do time and time again. If they shout louder, people are going to hear them. If you're not shouting at all, you've not got a voice in the market. It's not necessarily about marketing to get sales. It's about keeping your level in the market, hopefully growing. We all aim for that growth, but at least to keep a level and not start backtrack.
Yeah, I think it's something when we were talking before we started recording, and you are so right. It's often very difficult to do it for yourself, because we have this, whether it's British modesty or whether it's just a compunction not to be seen and heard or be seen as that boastful person, that person's always talking about themselves, it can feel very icky, particularly for people who are micro businesses, sole traders, solopreneurs, whatever the hell you want to call them, or else. It has that feeling of I don't want to be that person, but actually finding a tone and a language which you are happy to use to express yourself, that is your authentic voice, I think is one of the most exciting things you can do as a person, let alone as a business person. And it helps to generate such a more powerful message because this is your authentic you. And I think, a lot of people have fallen out of love with, for instance, social media, whatever platform you're on. I'm old, so Facebook's still there for me on a personal level. But whatever your platform is, whatever your poison is, we see let's take me as an example. I work within PR predominantly, and I see some beautiful PR people in fabulous gowns in exotic locations with huge amounts of followers. And this little old me with her roots and a God Save the Queen t-shirt, probably got dog hair on somewhere because I've got dogs and everything else got dog hair on nowadays. And I don't have a huge following by any stretch of the imagination. In my darker moments, there is that, is that what I need to do in order to be successful? But what did Oscar Wilde say? Something around, you be you because everybody else is taken. And I'm not the person that's going to be in a beautiful gown in a great, fabulous, exotic location, because it's just not me. And me and dresses haven't been friends for very, very many decades now, and I have no intention of making them so. But it's about finding your authentic voice and a way of talking on, whether it's social media or via the press or on your website, whatever your channels are that you choose to do something through. It's about having a go, trial and error. And I think these are the very unsexy words nowadays because everybody wants the instant solution. But because they want the instant solution, they don't want to make the mistakes, and therefore they stop doing things. Well, actually, it's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes, because your idea of what that mistake is going to be is probably huge, like Everest, and actually it's probably just a little molehill. It's not going to make that much of a rumble. It's okay to try and to find different tones and to put different things on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, TikTok, for you to find your voice and what really excites you, so that you do then start posting more regularly, and then you do build traction and it's like that rolling stone, isn't it? You've got to start somewhere and push off whatever the marketing piece is that you start with. Just do it.
No one wants to be water. Like, water's like this innocuous thing. No one wants to be water. We want to stand out for our uniqueness and being different. And yeah, don't be upset about disrupting the industry that you're in or putting people off, because that's all part of branding as well. Attracting the right people and putting off the ones, or not putting off, but perhaps not attracting the ones that aren't going to be interested in what you've got to sell.
Absolutely. And I say, even when you're at events and you're at face-to-faces and things like that, if someone says to you, oh, your product is too expensive, or, it's too small, or it should be bigger, thank you.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can say to that. It doesn't matter what you try and make, they're never going to be quite happy. They're the people that are never going to be quite happy. So if you're trying to advertise to everyone and you're trying to market to everyone, it's going to cost you stupid amounts of money and you're never going to get any sales. Whereas if you are specific about, I always say, your customer avatar is so important, even if to the point that if you can find a picture of the exact person that you would like to walk through your door every single day and put it on a wall, and every time you write a post, every time you write an email, everything, talk to them, talk to the person, what do they want? I mean, mine is normally, for my candles, it's always woman between 35, 45, we like nice things, but we don't like paying stupid money for it, but we want a little bit of luxury. At the end of the day, we've put the kids to bed, we've got a glass of wine, we want to light a nice candle that smells just, divine. That's the person. And I have a picture of her. And when I write emails, I write to her. and I write to her as if I'm talking to her at an event. And I think there's an element of that needs to go into branding, is that what is that person? What do they like? What are their hobbies? Who, what sort of job do they have? Where do they live? What is your perfect person?
Well, it impacts where you show up for them as well. Yeah, all the different touch points across that journey in terms of how they're interacting with your brand, whether they've been recommended a product, whether their friend has bought a product, whether they've received a gift, whether they met you in person at an expo and they bought something. What does that whole journey look like? Right through from that face-to-face interaction, going onto your website, viewing you on social media, the purchasing journey, because customer service is all part of your brand experience, right? Like, you've got to be consistent. You can't say you care about the environment and then part of your supply chain or part of something else is actually causing harm. You have to be consistent in your brand proposition. It's about authenticity. It's about tone of voice. It's about sharing, giving value to people, not being another person that's taking up very valuable platform space on your feed. When I look at your stuff, let's use you, Nikki, as an example. When I see your stuff, whether that's on Insta or Facebook or wherever else you post to, I know I'm going to get something from it. I will read it every time it pops up on my feed. There are few people that I would do that with. Morgan, there's another one who I think has been a guest on your show. There are other people that I would do that with. There is a lot of people who are dear friends of mine who I will whiz past thinking, nah, pretty much know what they're going to be talking about. It's Saturday night reading when I've got nothing else to do. Don't mean that to be harsh or disrespectful to them, but it's fluff. What I'm looking for in business are things to be able to shortcut me from having to sit there for hours trying to learn to do it myself when I haven't got the money to pay for somebody. And that's where, if you are a service provider, as you and I both are essentially, that's where your value comes from. If it's about product, if you're a crafter, if you're making something, if you're an artisan, it's about sharing the joy of that journey. And I say this to the artists that I deal with via our PR. I love art. I am not a painter. I have no clue how you would create that beautiful drawing, sketch, etching, tapestry, art, insert thing, frock. No idea. Show me, and I'm going to be interested because I'm a curious person. Now, there'll be people who aren't interested, and that's fine. And there's going to be people who are interested, and that's fine. But it's sharing that journey, educate people, write down a list of the steps you take to create whatever you're creating. My clients say to me, yeah, but nobody's going to want to know that. There are. I'm not the only sad person out there that is curious about how you do this stuff.
See, I get the other argument. I get the, what if somebody else does it? I get that argument.
Somebody else is doing it. You might not have found out yet, but somebody else is doing it already. However unique your process is, somebody in a population of what we're at, 8 billion worldwide, globally, somebody else is going to be doing your stuff. It's already out there. It's already done. If unique exists, it's hiding somewhere very, very sly because I haven't found it. Somebody's already doing it. But they're not doing it how you do it because they're not bringing your soul to it. They're not bringing your why to it. They're not bringing your past to it. They're not bringing your lived experience to it. And that's where your secret sauce starts to come from. A good brand will keep you on track. It will keep your audience on track. And it will help you evolve in the way that you want to.
These are like the secret parts of branding that people don't consider. And, we all go, we need a brand. Let me make a logo. But actually, it's that conversation. You're having a conversation with your customer every single day in the way that you portray yourself and the way you put yourself out there. And in order to have that conversation with them, you need to have an idea of what you're talking about. And if you don't have your mission and you don't have your future plan, even if at the minute it's something like, I want 1 million shops all around the world and I want to be the go-to place for this product. Even that is enough. Just having some sort of vision forward so that you can have something to go, okay, so what does that look like? And what kind of customers will come to me in all of my shops? And how many different countries are actually going to accept me and work with my products? And starting to have that conversation with yourself in order to make sure that the brand that you put together is going to outlast the madness, which is the first sort of 5 years in business.
Yeah.
Like those moments where you sort of sat on the sofa at 2 a.m. going, what the hell am I doing? Why the hell am I doing this? You know, having that conversation with yourself or an expert to get that out of you, so that when you put that brand together, you've got at least the next 5 years of a growing business that will work towards getting the right customers in all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think important for every business, but probably more so for an artisan business, is feeling like you can go to work as you. And what I mean by this is kind of that you don't have to pretend to be someone else when you're working within your business. You don't have to put any masks on because of the brand that's being created. I now have to dress a certain way. In fact, you know, I've got a friend in marketing, absolutely great guy, very, very talented. He'd come from a very corporate background, and then he realised, actually, my clients are, in fact, 9 times out of 10, they were in plumbing and heating, and he was like, they don't want me turning up in a suit. I don't want to turn up in a suit either. So then he branded some polo shirts and had hoodies, you know, and he felt much more comfortable like that.
Yeah.
And actually, because he felt comfortable, his audience felt comfortable, because they were like, well, this is just genuinely him. You know, this is how he's representing himself. And I can tell he feels more comfortable. Authenticity gets banded around, you know, so much. But for me, it's just about being genuine and not feeling like you have to pretend to be someone else. It's okay to be you. Because if you pretend to be someone else and someone doesn't like you or doesn't want your product, is that because it's wrong for them, or it's because you're pretending to be the wrong person? You know, it gets really, really confusing. Whereas if you just show up as you and genuinely create a brand that represents who you are and what you're trying to do, then it's easy to just show up and continue to be yourself.
Why does everything have to be done now? Taking a break away from your business doesn't mean that everything you've done up to that point goes away. Everything you've learned, everything you've achieved is still there. And yeah, there might be a few things you have to go over again. Like, it's like if you come off Instagram for a while, you then have to build it back up again. But it's always going to be there, and that knowledge will be there, and that support and base will be there for when you go, actually, now I've got the time to focus on this. And that's why it's so important to have that self-care, because you are then resilient in your business practice.
It's okay to have a meltdown. I call them pity parties. You're allowed to have a pity party for 24 hours. Get your pajamas. I'll even sit with you, you know, get all the snacks, get all the junk food. We'll have 24 hours. Then you'll get up, you'll get a shower, you'll put yourself together, you'll get ready for the day, and you'll go out and smash it. And that's like the rule that we have. So it's nice to hear that, you know, somebody else is allowing that process, because I think we all need it sometimes. It's cathartic, just
all a part of it, honestly. Like the breakdowns, like that is all a part of it. Like feeling like you're never going to make it, you're never going to be able to do it. It's what you do after that that is essential. So like that's how like businesses fold all the time. Like I feel like, because like especially with photography, I feel like people don't really make it very long because it is hard. It's so hard. But like, it's what you do after that. It's what you do. Are you getting the information you need to make those adjustments? And, you know, like once you have that meltdown, what do you do next? Do you like abandon ship, or do you look at the situation and make adjustments? So it like, oh, it's so key.
I love that. You know, literally as we're talking, I'm a Frozen mum. So all of my kids have absolutely loved Frozen. And this song in Frozen 2, Take the Next Right Step. And every time I hear it, it just resonates with me. I don't know why. It's not the best song in the show, but it just resonates with me. And it's that I don't know what to do next. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. So if I just take that one step forward, I'm progressing each day. And sometimes it's about that. It's about those little steps. Just take the next step and see what happens from there. And then evaluate and take the next step and just go. And I think in business especially, you know, busy, kids, family, you know, everything going on, being a wife, being a person as well, because we need to maintain ourselves and our identity, all of that stuff going on. Sometimes just take the next step. Just take it slow, have your meltdown, take one step forward, and don't sort of think about all the things that you're not doing. Just take that one step and just move forward and see.
That's dangerous.
And I think that
Like we're gonna have to rename this episode just for that, because we are. This episode is now meltdowns, and we love it. And
yes,
and
it is okay to eat Nutella in your jammies.
Take each day as it comes. Don't be too hard on yourself when you do have days that you consider to be a failure, because they're not a failure. It's all a learning curve. You know, there are days where it doesn't work out, and what you've done is learned that doesn't work, so you don't do it again. Saved you time in the long run. Be prepared to take some risks as well. You know, there are some things that you think, oh, it's going to cost a lot of money, and is it worth it? You don't spend a load of money. I'm not talking about like, you know, spending 50 grand on something, but there is that element of it's you've got to feel like it's worth it. So take a risk every now and then. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. It literally is not the end of the world. If you're really struggling with your anxiety or depression, as I do, and you wake up one morning and you think, I don't even know where to start. Like I physically don't know where to start on the day, never mind the business or anything else. Write down one thing that you think, I'm going to achieve that. And if it literally is getting out of bed and having a shower, you've done it. Done. You've achieved something. And then you can work that into your business as well. And you can say, right, what are the things I need to achieve today with my business, or this week or this month? And plan it all out and just look at it and go, what can I do? What's an easy win? Job done for the day. Go back to your true crime podcast. Sorted. It doesn't matter if it takes 3 months or 3 years. Just keep going. Just keep going.
They are fantastic. And I love the honesty that comes with these tips. And what I love best about this entire season, and what I love best about this entire podcast, is this podcast came about from me just sat on the sofa thinking, do you know what? Maybe we should do a podcast. And then I went out into the internet world, into the digital world, and I said, hey, would anyone be interested in this podcast? And we had such an amazing response from so many people saying, yeah, hey, I've got a tip that I can help. Hey, I'd love to share my story. And these tips and advice, this guidance that you're getting is just, I'm so grateful for these people to take a chance on me, on my vision, on the goals of the business, and take a chance on a brand new platform where, you know, we haven't got experience in this. We don't know what we're doing. We're hoping for the best. So it's been so lovely to get these tips and advice from people that know exactly what they're doing or have been through these scenarios before, and that can guide us all going forward on our businesses. So at this point, I'd love to say thank you to all of you that have come on and done tips and advice for everyone out there that is looking for a little bit of help, just a little bit of guidance. We do have an online community on Facebook, which is called the Make and Sell Community. Come on down, come and join us to get those tips and advice in real time and directly to you. If you've got anything that you want to ask, if you've got a question or a problem that you're going through, or even if you're just at a position where you know you want to grow, but you don't quite know how to get to that next level, come and join us at the Make and Sell Community on Facebook and ask the questions to everyone there that have been through this, that are going through this, that, you know, are experts in their field and can give you that advice, and get the tips straight up. Otherwise, listen to the podcast and hear us all talk about it quite openly in the Motivated Creative podcast. Now, to end this season, and the only way to end this season would be with another set of bloopers. Thank you, Dan. I don't know whether I'm actually saying thank you to Dan, but thank you, Dan. Let's end this season with a smile on our face, joy in our hearts, and staying creative. I really look forward to seeing you all again in season 2. And thank you so much for receiving this podcast exactly how it was made, with love, hope, and happiness. Take care and see you in season 2. You don't want to let him down. There's a lot of pressure.
Huge thanks. Just as a quick aside on that one. So my husband calls himself a crow. Sorry. It's 3 o'clock, in case you didn't hear that. It's like Big Ben.
It's really, really important to give good, consistent customer service that aligns with
finding the newest marketing strapline. It's about representing yourself properly, and people see straight through it when you've frozen, Nikki. Have we lost signal?
It froze a little bit. It's okay. I think I've still got your audio. I could still hear you. I just couldn't see you. It stopped for a minute. Can you see me now?
Nikki, you've frozen. I don't know whether to carry on or not. It's still recording.
Lost her.
Motivated Creative Podcast is brought to you today by the Artisan Business Company. If you enjoyed today's show, please leave a review and share it with your friends. Your support helps us reach and help more creative entrepreneurs just like you. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Artisan Business Company for updates and behind the scenes content. Until next time, keep creating and stay motivated.